Welcome to the Gavel. I am Terry Ikumi. Amid criticisms and condemnations of the president's decision to declare a state of emergency in Rivers State, the National Assembly on Thursday ratified the president's decision. Now, both chambers commenced the day with a closed-door session and emerged with resolutions which they believe could bring about peace in the state within the initial 6-month period. Now, lawmakers resolved that a mediation committee consisting of eminent Nigerians be established to resolve the political crisis in Rivers State. The criticism following the ratification of Parliament is that the voice vote pattern and concerns of whether a quorum was formed or not is something that must be looked into. Here's a detailed report on the process and reactions of lawmakers after approving the request.
Lawmakers in the Red Chamber reconvened for the final and crucial plenary session of the week that will determine their stance on President Bola Tinubu's proclamation of a state of emergency in Rivers State. The president's letter was read by the Senate President.
From the President of the Senate on the circumstances of the proclamation of a state of emergency declared by Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, President, Commander-in-Chief, Federal Republic of Nigeria, on the state of affairs in Rivers State.
The leader of the Senate moved a motion to reorder the day's proceedings to entertain the president's request. This is quickly followed by a point of order by Senator Seriake Dixon, which led to a back and forth with the Senate President.
Mr. President, that we reorder the agenda on the order paper to enable us take for the first order of the day, which is my motion pursuant to the proclamation of state of emergency in Rivers State, in respect of which Mr. President just read the correspondence from Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Seriake Dixon.
Yes.
I watch you on television.
Mr. President, I have
And
a
you
point
pointed
of order
out,
for which you have
listen to me.
recognized
You said no matter what the Senate does, the Senate will never go with you. The Senate will not go with you. You said no matter what the Senate does, the Senate will not have your vote on anything the Senate does. That's what you said on television. I don't know, but I'm saying that if you have already made up your mind to go and talk on television when the Senate has not even considered any issue, I want to let you know.
To me, please.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm only saying please allow me to preside.
I wanted to draw your attention, Mr. President, respectfully, and the attention of all our colleagues, to the specific provisions of our rules, Order 135. The framers of this are very exhaustive. Once you say state of emergency declaration, there is a procedure.
Can you read 135?
Let me read it. Say, look, 133. When the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, by instrument published in the Gazette of the Government of the Federation, issues a proclamation of a state of emergency in the Federation or of any part thereof, he shall immediately after the publication, A, B, C, D, the President shall, in a closed session, brief the Senate on the circumstances of the proclamation of a state of emergency.
Your point of order is upheld.
Thank you.
A closed-door session quickly followed, lasting about an hour and a half. When the session ends, a series of resolutions were reached.
The Senate invokes the powers conferred on it by Section 305, subsection 2 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, and approve the proclamation of state of emergency declared by Mr. President in Rivers State of Nigeria. The Senate further directs that the declaration of the state of emergency stated in the proclamation document and the mandate of Mr. President to review, and hereby mandates the President to review and even to terminate the state of emergency at any given time, but not later than 6 months. That Section 11, subsection 4 be invoked, providing the National Assembly the authority to set up a joint ad hoc committee of both chambers to oversight the administration of Rivers State henceforth.
The approval for a state of emergency in Rivers State was done via voice votes.
Those in support of the declaration of the state of emergency in Rivers State say aye. And those against say nay. The ayes have it in unanimity.
In the Green Chamber, an executive session was also held just ahead of the consideration of the President's request, with the hope of having a peaceful session when the doors are flung open. The session did not, however, commence peacefully. After the Speaker read the letter of request from the President, a constitutional point of order was raised on the need to ensure that a quorum has been formed.
Whether we have formed a quorum, Mr. Speaker, as enshrined in the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, so that our deliberations are not going to be deliberations based on illegality.
It is noted, Honorable, please, you can sit down.
Mr. Speaker, it is good enough, and I urge you that we comply strictly with the Constitution by first transparently announcing the quorum as it is now for us to go into this debate. I so move, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for the opportunity.
We are not yet at the point of voting. So the point of vote, what are being raised, until we get to the point of voting, that is when possibly that clause could be asked. But for now, we are supposed to consider what is before us, and what is before us is the request by Mr. President to tackle the issue or to approve for him for Rivers. Until we get to that one before we now begin to talk about quorum.
Interestingly, the matter was not debated. Instead, amendments were made.
Section 305 cannot be read in isolation of Section 11, subsection 4 of the same Constitution. At any time, when any House of Assembly of a state is unable to perform its function, by reason of the situation prevailing in that state, the National Assembly may make such laws for the peace, order, and good government of that state with respect to matters on which a House of Assembly may make laws as may appear to the National Assembly.
Both amendments were adopted by the House and the final vote was taken.
Those in support of this request from Mr. President as amended should say aye. Those against should say nay. There is have it. That was to note that today's plenary is being attended by 243 members based on our attendance registers. Just for records, we have more than satisfied the requirement of this particular amendment.
Members of the House of Representatives have expressed satisfaction with their decision to approve the state of emergency in Rivers State and the suspension of the governor, his deputy, and the State Assembly. The lawmakers, who cut across various political parties, say sentiments were put aside in the voting process and are proud of the precedents they have set.
The President came with a proclamation letter, and we looked at it and saw that it is not all that glitters is gold. We amended it at least to impute that if peace returns to Rivers State tomorrow, that he will call it off. But the maximum we gave him is 3 months to review it and see what is going on. Ordinarily, we are not setting any precedents, because we eventually told them that the National Assembly should be in charge of Rivers State as imputed in our Constitution. We had to make laws for Rivers State, but whereby you see two factions in a state, you have to come in to know how you bring peace. We agreed that a peace committee will be set up to see how peace will be brokered in Rivers State. And for the betterment of everybody and for the good people of Rivers State, we need peace.
First, yes, the Constitution and even our rule book, standing orders, prescribes a quorum. And because the Constitution is specific about this, I desired that, Mr. Speaker, handle the issue of quorum in such a way that it will not have a backlash. And of course, yes, he yielded by saying that at the point of voting, yes, we will get back to the issue of if quorum is actually formed for voting. And then following the amendments that were rendered by honorable members, in the House, I think it became very clear that the amendments were tended towards bringing peace for all the parties, tended towards an harmonious resolution of this issue, tended towards not over-delaying this proclamation that has been done by Mr. President. And I think that was the premise on which all the members who were present, who were over 243, yielded into approving the amendments as was moved by our colleagues.
People always see us as the rubber stamp National Assembly, but we proved today that we are not, that we always follow precedent, we always follow the Constitution as it is written, as all enshrined in the Constitution. Today we formed the quorum, which was over 220 people, and we're able to move the motion as moved by the executive. All of us can say, and we must always know that Rivers State has been in a state of conundrum for so long. So it's only fair that the executive should step in and ensure that things move swiftly. If you heard our proceedings for today, we didn't encourage the 6 months. We said, okay, no, between the period of now and the 6 months, if peace comes, the proclamation can be lifted so that events can continue. The governor that was elected can continue his work and also the State Assembly. So we also formed a committee of peace and reconciliation that will be formed by the House, that will make sure that all parties involved will be spoken to ensure that this proclamation is being taken, is being carried away on ground on time. We're here today to ensure that there is peace and tranquility in Rivers State. We're here today to ensure that Rivers State's economy keeps going. Because we all know that the economy of Nigeria relies mostly on that part of the country because of the oil that it's producing. So we all want peace to be in that part of the country.
My caucus chairman has said it all. The mood of the House and the amendments that came with the bill, the motion was quite interesting. So at the end of the day, everybody accepted it.
If this intervention were not availed, further altercation and exhibitions and factions in the state would have resulted in casualties, which would consume more of women and children. So coming to the constitutional support, section 305, like you are aware, subsection 2, gave the president the power to make this declaration, given some conditions, which has been met by this ratification. We have ratified because as parliament, it would not have been enforced if this ratification did not come. But what I stood for, which I also seconded, was that the Constitution provided for a 6 months period at first instance, but it's not cast in stone, it's not sacrosanct, it's not fixed. And that's why that amendment is to the effect that if the two parties come to agreement or come to terms and peace returns to Rivers State, in less than that period, even in a week or less than that, the president will be mandated or compelled by this same House or by prevailing circumstance to reconsider and relax this. So I think it's a positive precedent in the interest of peace.
I must thank Mr. President and commend Parliament. And again, the amendment which has been done as regards the combined reading of 305 and Section 11 of the Constitution is what is key. It is the National Assembly that has powers to now make laws for Rivers State in the next 6 months, depending on the circumstances, as the case may be. That is the review of the proclamation or otherwise. But then I think it is commendable that we have taken such decisions today to move our democracy forward.
Welcome back to the Gavel. Let's get a clearer perspective from the Policy and Legal Advocacy Center plaque on the voting procedure and concerns around quorum on the ratification of the state of emergency in Rivers State by Parliament. Here's the breakdown.
The rules of the House and the Constitution clearly states that a third of the membership constitutes the quorum, and a third is what you see, not what is written on paper. So when you do have very important issues escalate to votes, and the Constitution sufficiently and clearly indicates the numbers of votes or how you can have a decision reached, including a law passed, where it clearly indicates that, then it means very specifically that even if you don't have the entire 109 senators present or 360 members of the House of Representatives present, the votes must show that you attained that threshold. And the specific issue regarding the state of emergency that was declared was quite clear in Section 305 of the Constitution, which is that you must have 2/3 of members' votes to approve the declaration of emergency, a state of emergency by the president. It's the same thing it does when you're looking at alteration of a constitution or other provisions that is quite there, clear there. And the National Assembly has always respected that. So for a lot of us who have great investment in the National Assembly, it's very disappointing to see the Constitution desecrated the way that it has been desecrated by the current National Assembly. And once you begin as the one who is supposed to uphold the Constitution to its true value, once you begin to desecrate the Constitution, you are telling citizens that it is a country that doesn't have rule of law. It's a country that is can do anything that it pleases. You're basically telling the country that you, the citizens of the country, can say what you want to say. We will do what we want to do, and you don't care. That's really, I think, the tragedy of the voice votes that the National Assembly took on the issue of emergency. And it's not a question whether you support or do not support the declaration of emergency or whether you support one side or the other in the crisis in Rivers State. For me, that's not my issue. My issue, and I think the issue for most Nigerians, is a constitution that has been desecrated by the assumption of voice vote as a determination for tabulating what 2/3 means. Now, even if you had 2/3 of members present in a sitting, which means you have a quorum and 2/3 of members are present in either the Senate or the House of Representatives, you must show the numbers that actually voted for one position or the other. So the fact that you use a voice vote, there might be people who might decide to abstain, for instance, and that abstention is a vote in itself. So clearly what the National Assembly has done is sad for our democracy, is sad for rule of law, and is sad for the sustenance of democracy in Nigeria. And for a lot of us who fought very hard, a lot of people lost their lives, a lot of people challenged the dictatorship and brutality of General Buhari, General Abacha, General Babangida, to get us to the point where we returned to civilian rule in 1999. This is quite sad. There are different ways of voting. Now, with respect to the making of a law, it's not very clearly indicated that it must be a recorded votes. Of course, you could have voice vote, you could have division, and then you could have actually counting, which is what division escalates to. But where the Constitution is very specific to say that these are the numbers required for a law or for a motion or a resolution to pass, then you must respect the Constitution. Now, unless artificial intelligence or science have come up with some means by which voice vote can be disaggregated into numbers, unless that has happened, then what the National Assembly has done is void, is illegal, is unconstitutional. Well, the Constitution says that the National Assembly shall vote on a proclamation of a state of emergency made by the President. It doesn't go further to say that the President needs to deliver the proclamation personally and come into the National Assembly to provide further explanation. What it says that members must then vote if they are in session within 2 days of that declaration of a state of emergency, and it stops there. Of course, if Senator Dixon goes further to say the president should brief the members, that would be somewhere in which the president will be lobbying to get the National Assembly to approve his proclamation of a state of emergency. And yes, Senator Dixon is right. The president could have pursued that to further get the National Assembly members to understand the imperative nature of approving his declaration of a state of emergency. But it's not required that that is done. What has happened is that the president has sent a declaration. Members should then vote based on what they know, based on what they understand about the so-called crisis, and make a determination whether to approve the president's declaration of a state of emergency. And this is not what has happened. The Senate, the House of Representatives, I must say, failed the nation. And for a lot of us who have invested a lot in support of the National Assembly, this is a very, very sad day for our country.
Now it's time to speak to your representative on Constituency Focus. Our guest is Honorable Emmanuel Uguru, representing Abakaliki Izi constituency of Ebonyi State.
I came in last Monday from home, my constituency, where I visit almost every week. It doesn't matter what it costs me to go there. When you are nearer them, you know the way they feel, you know what they need and what they don't need. And like I said, they need employment. And I have attracted over 10. I'm not going to exaggerate. I am the deputy chairman, Federal Colleges of Education. I've given out jobs there. In the Federal Civil Service, graciously, I've also attracted. And in other areas, and I am not still counting. I am still not idle until I satisfy my conscience. Of course, the need for employment is so much. But when I do my own little, and the people will also do theirs, we're also doing something in the area of empowerment. Training and empowerment is also another source of lifting the people from where they are to the next level of getting to the next standard of their living. So employment, training, and empowerment, they go hand in hand. In my constituency, I am into mentorship of some youths in different fields of skill. Artisan is another area of employment. By the time they come out of it, they won't be idle. Because you discover today in Nigeria that especially on the education sector, some people go to read, come out of the university, and they discover the job is not there. So it is our duty to tell them, if you are reading a course, read a course, you come out to become self-reliant. Read a course, you come out to employ others. Don't be waiting for people to give you employment. You can employ. I also have given out 31 scholarships to the graduates. They are out there. If you need their names, I'll give you. It's obvious everywhere. I pay their in the university of their choice, not outside Nigeria, but within Nigeria, from different communities of Izi and Abakaliki local government area. My governor, the best governor in Nigeria, to me, was the one who came and launched it by last May, and is counting. This is the second year I paid their fees. I paid their fees, 31 of them last week. I paid their fees. And that's the second. I pay annually. So I think I'm doing a lot in that area so that my people will be better positioned. When you go to any society and the youths are not as many, then you know there's a problem. In my society, in my constituency, we have over 80% of the youths, meaning that the future is very, very bright for us, especially if the youths are properly positioned. In other areas of in the National Assembly, we have 3 key issues which is our primary function. Every other one is extracurricular. One is oversight function. We oversight all government projects. And in Ebonyi, let me tell you, not minding that we are federal government, governor takes us along to even oversight his own projects. We go on supervision. We do a lot of things. And that is what governance should be. He does not know where you are or where you are not, as long as you are an Ebonyi man. That we are doing. I have also attracted some projects, even though those projects, like I said, is extracurricular. Our main curricula is oversight, lawmaking, and our constituency. And that's the reason why I visit the constituency very often. I've attracted boreholes in my area. There's no gainsaying, trying to prove that we are what we are not. And that is why we are happy with our governor, because he is going to the hinterlands. So when he is coming from this angle, the little we can do to complement with what he's doing, we go from the other angle. So I go out to the hinterland, giving them water in the capacity I can afford through my constituency or ZIP projects. I've also built some schools, both secondary and primary schools.
Well, just before we go, the Senate has urged President Bola Tinubu to take immediate steps to safeguard Nigeria's territorial waters, including securing over 2,560 oil wells identified within the disputed mangrove islands in Akwa Ibom State. The upper chamber also set up an ad hoc committee to investigate the alleged annexation of the country's mangrove islands and maritime territories by the Republic of Cameroon. And the House of Representatives has resolved to investigate the conditional cash transfer program of the federal government. Well, that's all the time we have. Thanks for watching. I'm Terry Kumi. Goodbye.